Well, after 3 extremely long years of waiting, October 2021 has finally brought us Halloween Kills. Did this movie live up to the expectations? Or did it kill all the momentum from Halloween 2018? No? Alright, let's get into it. Okay, now before we get into the actual review, I just want to say right from the beginning, spoiler alert. There will be some spoilers throughout my review, so if you haven't seen the movie, do yourselves a favor, go to a theater with some friends, go to Peacock, watch this movie for yourself, form your own opinions, and then come back, tell me where you agree and where you disagree with my take. That's what makes it fun for me. I don't like people just agreeing with me all the time. Although if you do, that's great. But more than anything, I enjoy seeing the difference of opinions and where you think I got it wrong. So please watch this movie for yourself before you watch this review. So I wasn't doing movie reviews back in 2018, but just so everybody knows for context, I was a big fan of Halloween 2018. I know you have two camps with this movie. You have people like me that really loved it, and if I was doing reviews back then, I would give it a solid 7.5 or 8 out of 10. I thought it was very well done. Now, it's by no means a perfect movie. I do understand some of the gripes that people had with it, but me personally, I really enjoyed it. So with all that being said, I was really hoping Halloween Kills could carry that momentum forward and have my excitement just at an all-time high for Halloween Ends in 2022. Now, did it accomplish that? Let's talk about it. So the first positive I want to get into here, and probably my favorite scene or sequence in the entire movie, of course, that 1978 flashback. And I absolutely loved this sequence. It captured the mood, it captured the vibe, the cinematography. They had like this blue filter they applied to the camera, the hair choices and the clothing choices. Everything about this scene felt like it was ripped right out of 1978, and I was in love. And for every Halloween purist, the prosthetics they used to make Sam Loomis was just amazing. The team did a fantastic job at making this guy look exactly like Sam Loomis. There was no CGI cut in there. This was all practical effects and prosthetics. And on top of everything I loved about the flashback, it also gave us some important backstory for one of the characters going forward. A character I was very happy to see return in this movie.
I'm still gonna blow this motherfucker's brains out.
And even if there were people that had issues with the flashback, which I personally wouldn't understand, I dare any Halloween fan to tell me that they didn't get goosebumps seeing Michael Myers in that original mask. Now, my second positive for Halloween Kills is the man himself, Michael Myers. To me, James Jude Courtney just continues to thrive in this role. Just the way he looks, the way he moves, his mannerisms. He's just terrifying. And he keeps making me ask myself, is this my favorite Michael Myers of all time? And coming off 2018, I already said, if James Jude Courtney continues to do what he's doing for this entire trilogy, he's hands down gonna be the best Michael Myers of all time. And in this movie, he did not disappoint. Were there a few things I didn't like about the character? Sure, and we'll talk about that in the negatives. But to me, the things I didn't like comes more down to the decisions made by the writers of the movie than of his portrayal. He did everything he was asked to do, and he's just amazing in the role. So positive number 2, Michael Myers. My next positive for this movie is David Gordon Green does a good job directing the film. There are a lot of good sequences and good shots in this movie, and although nothing sticks with me as much as that one-shot sequence from Halloween 2018, there are some good moments. Michael coming out of the burning house that you've probably seen in trailers. That is a great shot. And Michael at the top of the stairs looking down at Allison in the Myers house. And to piggyback right along with directing, the score in this movie is absolutely amazing. But again, what else would you expect from the Carpenters?
And when the evening comes, we smile.
No, not those Carpenters. The score in this movie doesn't disappoint, and my favorite track of Halloween's 2018, yeah, that one. It's incorporated in this movie as well, and he just puts it in there at the perfect moment. So the score in this movie, badass. John Carpenter is absolutely a master at using music to set a scene, and he continues that right here in Halloween Kills. Now next up, I have to talk about a few, very few of the characters I actually liked in this movie. First, there's Big John and Little John. And while they didn't really have a lot to do in this movie, or really any reason to be there, other than the fact that they lived in the Myers home, I just loved their chemistry and their comedic timing here. While there wasn't really a point for them to be in the movie, they were necessary to break up some of the brutality. So I love Big John and Little John. And on top of that, I feel like there's a few characters in this movie that definitely redeemed themselves from Halloween 2018. I think Allison's boyfriend Cameron did a good job in this movie. I absolutely hated the guy after watching Halloween 2018. And he's a much better character in this movie. But even more so than him, Karen. Judy Greer playing Karen Strode. I hated Karen in Halloween 2018. But in Halloween Kills, she is so much better. I feel like she's the only one here that's really level-headed and rational in the entire movie. And I just really like Judy Greer's performance here a lot better than I liked her in Halloween 2018. So Karen Strode actually ended up being one of my favorite characters in the movie, which I did not see coming. That brings us to my final positive here, and it's right in the title. This movie promised kills, and it delivers on kills. My God, there are some brutal kills in this movie, and there are some pretty creative ones. While there were a few that I didn't care for, most of the kills in this movie were awesome. I especially loved the entire sequence in the house when he puts the fluorescent light bulb through the lady's neck. And man, the way he's just driving all those knives into the husband's back. We all know Michael likes to decorate with some of his kills, but at that moment I couldn't tell if he was like decorating or if he was just testing out knives on this guy. But it was absolutely amazing. Now, with all that being said, I have a lot of negatives here about Halloween Kills. And the first thing you have to mention when talking about this movie is these characters. Aside from the few that I mentioned in my positive lists, these characters are so fucking stupid. Like whatever the word is beyond stupid without offending anybody, that's what these characters are. Like, you know the trope in a bad horror movie where the girl goes down a dark set of stairs instead of just running out the front door? This movie is like watching that for an hour and 45 minutes. Every wrong move you can make, these characters make. Whether it's splitting people up when they should be in larger groups, somebody going into a house alone when they have backup with them, or just people never taking a headshot on Michael when they have a clear opening and just hitting him one time and assuming that's all you need to do. This is an hour and 45 minutes of people just making the wrong decisions. Like, these people are so dumb, this almost feels like it's veering into a horror comedy. At the same time though, it's taking itself so seriously. There are parts that I literally laughed out loud that I don't think you're supposed to laugh at. But some of the moments were that bad. To go right along with how dumb these characters are, you can put the dialogue in the same category. This movie is about 75 to 80% complete cringe dialogue. People have even created a drinking game from Halloween Kills called Evil Dies Tonight. Disclaimer, please do not play this game with your friends. You will get alcohol poisoning, because Evil Dies Tonight is said about 100 times in this movie. It's to the point where like you're embarrassed for the characters, and this movie is just chocked full of those moments. I just don't know why they're so focused on evil must die. Even Jamie Lee Curtis has some pretty cringy lines in this movie where she's like, evil has to be killed and I need to be the one to do it. And you shouldn't have to suffer for the evil that I've brought upon you. And the terrible dialogue and the awful characters, both of those go right in the same wheelhouse for the absolute worst character of this movie, and that is Tommy Doyle. Congratulations, Paul Rudd. You have been replaced as the worst Tommy Doyle by Anthony Michael Hall. And it's nothing against the man. I like him as an actor. I just feel like the writers did him real dirty in this movie. Like, for somebody who they are forcing to be our protagonist, you would think there'd be something like redeeming about his character, but this guy is just awful the entire movie. Like, he spends this entire movie getting innocent people killed, telling a story for a talent show. I guess his talent is telling a story about Michael Myers. And just like little things he says to himself that nobody says. Like he's holding his bat and he's just like, yeah, come on out, Michael. I'm gonna make sure you go night-night. Papa Bear's gonna make sure you go night-night for good. Like, nobody talks like that. Tommy Doyle is far and away the shittiest character in this movie. And he might be competing with Tina from Part 5 and Busta Rhymes in Resurrection for one of the absolute worst characters in this franchise. He is that bad. Next up, and a huge gripe I have with this movie, is it just doesn't feel like a Halloween film. After that 1978 flashback we got in the beginning, and aside from like one chase scene with Lindsay, this movie has zero tension. I almost feel like they replaced all the tension and atmosphere here with just straight brutality and carnage. Michael Myers stalks his victims, he preys on them, and it's a slow build. That's what makes this character so terrifying. But this movie was just pure carnage. To me, a lot of times it felt more like a Friday the 13th movie. I felt like I was watching Jason Voorhees on screen. And don't get me wrong, you all know I love Jason. Card. But Jason and Michael are two very different killers. This just isn't a Halloween movie. If anything, it's a Friday the 13th movie. But not only that, it feels like Friday the 13th mixed with an action movie. Like, Michael Myers feels like a combination of Jason Voorhees and fucking John Wick. Like, seriously, there are moments where he's fighting off 10 to 20 people at a time. And like the rest of this movie, there is no horror, there is no tension. It just feels like Keanu Reeves as John Wick. Just for the character, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. But hey, the good news is, if this feels like a Friday the 13th movie, maybe Halloween Ends will be Michael Myers killing you in your dreams. Ooh, sorry, Jamie. Next up is just the continuity errors in this movie that made it hard to watch at a lot of moments. Just a few of the examples would be like how the granddaughter Allison puts the knife beside Laurie when she's under getting ready for her surgery. And later on, Karen puts her clothes in this basket in the hospital. But Laurie wakes up and goes right for the basket and pulls this knife out ready to fight Michael. It just didn't make sense. Like, Laurie had no idea that knife was there. How did she go right over to this basket and pull it out? And then another moment was when Allison is in the hospital talking to a cop. She acknowledges that Michael Myers wasn't after Laurie. He only ended up in her house because Dr. Sartain brought him to the house. Yet the next scene, Karen is telling Allison, you need to stay with your grandmother. Michael's on his way to get her here at the hospital. And Allison just says nothing about it. She doesn't even acknowledge that no, Michael's not here for her. He's just killing people aimlessly without a plan. And then the third one that really pissed me off was when Lindsay and Nurse Marion, and then the couple dressed up as a nurse and doctor, are at the playground. The wife character gets out of the vehicle with a huge gun. Like, she should be right out of that window shooting at Michael on top of the vehicle. But instead, she's just out of the scene for 2 entire minutes so Michael can conveniently kill the other 2 characters in the car. 2 minutes later, she pops up shooting at him from like 30 feet away. Like, where was she during this time when she could have been shooting this man? Moments like that just really, really piss me off. And then my final negative for Halloween Kills, I feel like is a pretty common one, and that is just this forced social commentary on the audience watching the movie, on the dangers of mob mentality. I understand they were trying to do like the Halloween 4 thing, but they took it to a level that it just didn't need to go to. And this whole mob mentality sequence led to one of the dumbest scenes in the movie, where these people are chasing this man through the hospital who they think is Michael Myers. Even though Michael Myers' picture has been posted on the news, all these people that were at these bars saw the picture of Michael Myers clear as day. And he's a giant. Like, Michael's about 6'4", 6'5" at least. And they're chasing this guy through the hospital that looks like Danny DeVito. The guy's literally like 4'11". Like, it's clearly not Michael Myers. I don't know why they chose to go this direction. It makes absolutely no sense. Even Tommy Doyle at one moment says, well, Michael always wears a mask. We don't know what he looks like. But you do know that Michael is a fucking giant, especially you, Tommy. You had a run-in with him as a kid. And it felt like to me they were so busy making this social commentary that they forgot to write a compelling story for this movie. Like, Michael's not after his sister. He's not after his niece. He's not even possessed by some dumbass thorn cult. He's literally going home so he can stare out of his sister's window. I swear to God, if you haven't seen the movie, that's what this movie is about. Michael wants to go home so he can stare out of a window. That's the story. I also wasn't the biggest fan of the ending of this movie. It just kind of ends very abrupt to me, the same way Halloween 2018 kind of ended abruptly. And it makes it especially more painful knowing that on some original screeners a few years ago, there was such a better ending to this movie, and I hope to God they put it on the Blu-ray release. So for anybody that doesn't know, the original ending of this movie had Karen calling Laurie at the hospital, and as soon as she's done dialing, that's when Michael just stabs the shit out of Karen, and he actually picks up the phone, and Laurie just hears him like breathing into the phone. So at this point, Laurie pretty much knows that Karen has been killed, and she just says, Michael, I'm coming to kill you. And that's where you saw in the trailer, like her walking in the hospital with the knife. It was gonna zoom in on that knife the same way Halloween 2018 zoomed in on it and go to credits. Anybody, please tell me that ending wouldn't have been 100 times better than what we got. So overall, if you're looking for some dumb fun and some good kills, I would definitely recommend this movie to you. But for you Halloween purists out there like myself, I don't know how much you're gonna enjoy this movie. While it did a few things right, to me, it did a lot more wrong. This is starting to feel like the Star Wars sequels for me, where it started on this high note, and now it's starting to go down, down, down. So we'll see how it finishes out. But Halloween Ends, in my opinion, has a lot of work to do to end this trilogy on the same high note that Halloween 2018 started it on. I'm gonna give Halloween Kills a 5.5 out of 10. But that's gonna do it for my review of Halloween Kills. Please tell me what you thought of this movie. I'm super anxious to hear. Let me know right down here in the comments. Let me know where you agree with me, where you disagree with me, and where would this movie be placed in your list of Halloween movies? Would you put this top 3, top 5, 6 or 7 like it is on my list, or even lower? And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing right over here so you don't miss any future content. And if you want to see a few more things from my channel, here they are right over on this side. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.